Good evening, class. Today we will be focusing on calculus limits. Please like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the channel. My Cash App is with the $ up front, MLBFan. Here we see a calculus limit of x to goes to 1 of 1 divided by 1 minus 1x minus 3 divided by 1 minus 1x to the third power. First, we see that we need to factor a -1 out of the denominator. So the limit as x goes to 1 of 1 divided by -1 being factored out. So that is going to yield us with -1 plus 1x minus, and then we want to factor out a -1 for this denominator as well. And then we're left with -1 plus 1x cubed. Please keep in mind that we have to know factoring formulas. One in particular, here is a factor formula of a cubed minus b cubed is equivalent to a minus b times a squared plus ba plus b squared. This will come in handy later on in the lecture. In our parenthesis here. So first we need to factor once we flip around the denominator as well. So in the next step, we have the limit of x goes to 1 of 1 divided by -1 times, and we can flip this around as 1x minus 1 minus 3 divided by -1 times 1x to the third power minus 1. Now we can use the factor formula. So let's start out and state we must factor 1x cubed minus 1. So we must take the cube root of 1x cubed, and that will yield us with 1x. So we're going to say a is equal to 1x, and the cube root of 1 is equal to 1, and b is equal to 1 to follow the factoring formulas there. So a cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b times a squared plus ba plus b squared. So we fill this in as 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1 times 1x plus 1 squared. Once again, your a is 1x and your b is 1, and then you just plug into the a and b's for the factoring formulas. And then we simplify, so 1x minus 1 times 1x times 1x plus 1x plus 1. Now we continue to simplify, so this is going to be 1x minus 1 times 1x squared, because 1x times 1x is 1x squared, plus 1x plus 1. Now we can rewrite the denominator. Let's let this marinate as we go here. So now we could state the limit as x goes to 1 of 1. Let's rewrite this here. Limit as x goes to 1 of 1 divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 minus 3 divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1 after we factored the second denominator there. Now we notice that the LCD, or the least common denominator, is going to be equal to -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. We notice that in the first denominator, we just have -1 times 1x minus 1. In the second denominator, we have -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. So we only need to alter the first part. So as the limit of x goes to 1 of 1 divided by -1 times 1x minus 1, and this is missing 1x squared plus 1x plus 1, so we need to multiply top and bottom by this. So 1x squared plus 1x plus 1 divided by 1x squared plus 1x plus 1 to get a common denominator minus 3 divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. Now we need to distribute in the numerator here, so it's going to be 1 times 1x squared, and then times 1x, and then times 1. So it's going to be the limit of x goes to 1 of 1x squared plus 1x plus 1, because 1 times the function will yield itself, divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1 minus 3 divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. So now we can bring this together because they have the same denominator. So it's going to be the limit of x goes to 1 of 1x squared plus 1x plus 1 minus 3, all divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. So now we combine like terms as the limit of x goes to 1 of 1x squared plus 1x, and 1 minus 3 is minus 2, all divided by -1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. So now we need to factor 1x squared plus 1x minus 2. So what multiplies to be negative 2 and adds to be 1 for the middle coefficient? And that would be 2 times negative 1, because 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and 2 plus negative 1 is 1. So we can split this up as 1x squared plus 2x minus 1x minus 2. And split this in half. So divide both sides by the greatest common factor, so they both have an x in common on the left-hand side. And in here, we see on the right-hand side, they're both divisible by negative 1. And let's put a 1 in front of this x here. And this will come in handy. So then we pull this out, a 1x out, and then we're left with x plus 2. Then a negative 1 comes out, and then we're left with x plus 2. So we bring it together, and it's going to be x plus 2 times 1x minus 1. And now we can put this together. So the limit as x goes to 1 of, now we can rewrite the numerator because we just factored it, as x plus 2 times 1x minus 1, all divided by negative 1 times 1x minus 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. And now we see a factor that cancels out, and that is 1x minus 1. So the limit of x goes to 1 of x plus 2 divided by negative 1 times 1x squared plus 1x plus 1. And so now we can begin to substitute 1 into the equation shortly. So the limit of x goes to 1 of 1 plus 2 divided by negative 1 times 1 times 1 squared plus 1 times 1 plus 1 will yield us the limit of x goes to 1 of 3 over negative 1 times 1 squared is 1, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus another 1 makes 2, I should say. So let's do this in split part here. So 1 times 1 squared is 1, plus another 1 times 1 is 1, and then plus the remaining 1. So, which is going to equal 3 . So it's going to equal 3 divided by negative 3. Because negative 1 times 1 plus 1 plus 1 is the same thing as saying negative 1 times 3, which is negative 3 is now in the denominator. Which breaks down to negative 1 when we reduce it. And we're going to write this again. So let's go to the next piece of paper here. But let's let this marinate for a second here. So the limit as x goes to 1 of 3 divided by negative 1 times 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 divided by -1 times 3, which is equal to 3 divided by -3. And then the limit of x goes to 1 of 3 divided by -3 is equal to -1. And this is the solution to this problem. If you need math help, text 559-744-3169 for services. Please donate on the Cash App with the $ up front, MLBFan. Thank you so much, and let's learn math together.